welcome back once again to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I'm your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week, for the first time, we've got two-thirds of the FM team. I'm joined this week by FM girl Alice and Jeb, Kev, otherwise engaged, having a birthday party of some kind. Happy birthday, Kev. For the audio listeners, Jebru has just pointed to a very, very well crafted happy birthday sign. So happy birthday, mate. We miss you. We all love you lots. And we hope you're having a lovely, lovely evening and 27th birthday, I think it was. So eat all the cake and probably all the jelly. But for the people that are here joining me this evening, Alice, how are we, friendo?
I'm doing very well, although there's a cat just by here in front of my keyboard. And so if my audio or my stream all just conks out at any point, blame the cat. It's nothing to do with me.
100%, animal-based tech issues are a real life thing. Similar fate myself earlier this evening. My wife offered to make me some tea before we started recording, and then I came downstairs and she just lay in bed with like a cat on her lap. And she's like, "I'm so sorry, there's a cat here. What do I do?" And we just moved the cat. I wanted my tea making. How very, very dare she? He's back there now. He's absolutely back there now. But cat-based tech issues can happen and will happen. So nobody will be surprised. Nobody will be alarmed. And if we get more cats on the podcast, even better. Speaking of cat enthusiasts, a man with a camera dedicated to cats on his stream, it's Jebbaroo. How are we, pal?
Yeah, not too bad. I might sneeze. I'll probably have to mute myself, but yeah, I can really feel the sneeze coming. No, and you just like, I'm just gonna look. Nope, it's not gonna go. It's not gonna go. It's just there. It's not because the cat. I'm not allergic to cats at all. I definitely am. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. It's been a long week, a very long week again. But I'm looking forward to a lovely podcast and more excitement in FM world, because actually it's been quite good on that side of things for me.
Lovely. Yeah, but we're going to dive into that shortly. But yeah, it's. I think everyone's had a busy week this week. Everyone's had a busy old week. And I'd also like to say, I think if you could get a graph, made of, people that consume antihistamines on a regular basis and people that own cats, I think it would be a very, very steady upward like curve. Everybody in our house.
It's the same line, yeah.
Yeah. It's just the same people. It's just the same people in the middle of the Venn diagram. There's not even two separate circles. Yeah, it's just everyone's allergic. Pick things that are bad for you and care for them, and that's why I have two children. Slowly killing me, and I sneeze every time they're around. I'm allergic to them. I'm exhausted. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I love you, children. Stay asleep tonight, please. Please stay asleep tonight. So we've got a full docket of FM content tonight. Wonderful audience. We've got a full docket because we have all been individually very busy this week, and then we've all been really collectively busy as well. We'll start. If there's been some of the feedback that I've loved this week has been, there's been a lot of people that have enjoyed Alice's kind of, the start of Alice's journey in her solo save. You mentioned last week, mate, you might be a little bit sleepy this evening because you've had a busy day today, Alice, because you've been the meshing of your network save, the meshing of your stream save and reality have kind of clashed this afternoon, haven't they?
They have indeed. I finally managed to get around to going to a Llanthwit Major game. They were playing against Llanelli today at the Prince Moomin's Palace. That is the home ground of Llanthwit Major. And unfortunately, they didn't win. They lost 1-0. It was still enjoyable. It was great because I got I got recognized by some of the fans there. I got recognized by some of the players as well, and that was really awesome. And it was kind of like it's the first time I've ever got recognized out in real life for my FM content to any degree, other than I guess when we went to the FMT, I think that was the major exception, but that's kind of understandable. And so it was awesome. But yes, I've had a very long day and I am tired, and so I will try my best to keep up with my usual, I don't know, medium self.
Mate, how dare you? How dare you? Did you bump into any of the players? 'Cause I know last time we were talking, you were saying, there might be some players that are still at the club in real life who have been dropping in streams that might not necessarily be at the club in your save. Were there any kind of awkward introductions today? Did any players just kind of like staring at you from the subs bench, just like locking on, making eye contact?
I didn't really get a chance to meet any of them, unfortunately. The ones that kind of recognized me, they were some of the substitutes who were warming up. I was just on the side of the pitch against the rails, and I had a wee chat with one or two of them. But unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to talk to anyone, and it was too cold for me to stick around after the game. I was just like, I need to go home. It is freezing in Wales today, and I had the utmost sympathy for those players for playing in that weather, in that cold, and I kind of feel bad for selling them all now.
It's got to be a decision. It's when it comes to signing players moving forwards, is that's what you're going to have to factor that in as the save progresses. By season 10 or 12, when you're doing bits in Europe, and you're top of the league in Wales, and you're looking at bringing all these exciting international players in. It's like, would somebody who has grown up in somewhere like Buenos Aires be interested in coming and living in Wales in the winter? Is that something they'd realistically feel like doing? Because if you're taking weather and climate into the equation, then I think that would add definitely a really exciting new flavour to the save moving forwards. It's not something a lot of people do, to be fair. You'll see people like, oh, I want to try and keep the save realistic to a degree, but then I'm also going to sign 17 Brazilian wonder kids 7 seasons in, so it's all going to be fine. But yeah, taking into consideration, climate, I think that would give the save a really really nice spin move, make it super difficult for you moving forwards, but something to maybe consider. Who knows? But speaking of the save, the actual
I was actually going to say it was. You did really well considering the club actually tried to throw you under the bus by tagging in players that you'd sold. I noticed on your tweet that you put out just as a follow up reply. I was like, oh, that's lovely of them. They're fully behind this.
There does seem to be a bit of back and forth banter between like the players that I have sold, and it is all in good fun and stuff like that. But it's amazing when I get them in the stream, and then we have a little bit of banter about it.
It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And speaking of the stream, how are things going virtually?
So I'm gonna diverge from the usual, just talking about what's happened here. I'll give a brief rundown. We are now in the Cymru Premier, so we managed to get promoted. We managed to. For anyone that doesn't know much about the Wales, the Cymru Premier division, it's after 22 games, it splits into two. The league splits into two. You have like the champions group and then the relegation group, essentially. We just about managed to scrape our way into the champions group in our first season. So we will no longer, we're not under threat of relegation. We still have like 10 games to go, but there's no chance of relegation. It cannot happen at this point. So that's the success here. And I only now have 2 players left from the original Llantwit save. Like they're all gone. They're all gone, other than Luke Davidson and Morgan Ashworth, and both of them are almost out the door as well. And that actually leads me on to an issue that I have found with. I think it's a mix of the save that we're doing and a mix of Football Manager in general. So, if anyone that doesn't know about the Welsh football, unfortunately, the Welsh league, the quality of players in it it's really low. It's well lower than you will get in like the English conference, for example. The only real good team is TNS. They're the only professional team in the in the Welsh pyramid system. All the other teams in the top 2 tiers of Welsh football, or either semi-professional, and there's a couple of amateur ones, Cardiff University and Swansea University. They're the 2 amateur teams in that system. And so what it's meant is that the youth recruitment, the youth intakes for the clubs in these 3 divisions, these 2 tiers essentially, are so strong compared to the quality of players that the game populate. Well, I can say the game populates. They're already at the teams
Mhm.
that after 3 seasons, some of the teams in tier 2 of Wales have nothing but 15, 16, and 17-year-olds at their club because their youth intakes were just that much better than all the players they already had at the club. And so the average age of both tiers has dramatically dropped over 3 seasons. And it seems like a bit of an issue to me. Like,
Mm.
it's not so bad in the Comedy Premier, but it's still evident there.
Mhm.
And that brings me on to my second issue that we're currently having as well, is that at this level, for whatever reason, even if a player has a contract, they could be contracted for 2 or 3 years at this level, their value, unless you're playing for TNS, your value is zero. Which means if I went into another club and tried to buy their best player, I have to bid zero for them, and the club will accept it. So regardless of what happens, I can buy, with the exception of TNS and one or two other players from some of the better teams, I can buy anyone I want from the top, well, I guess the entirety of the Welsh system. And I have done that. Well, at least with the younger players. As long as the player actually wants to go to you and you can afford their wages,
Mhm.
you can buy anyone you want. So then we mix both of these issues together. You mix the fact that I can just buy anyone I want from the top 2 tiers, and then the fact that you've got so many good youngsters in it. Not only do I have some of the best players in the league, I have some of the best youngsters in the league, and they are going to destroy this system in a couple of years. There is a limit to this, and I think that limit is that this will make me the second best team in Wales easy. It's not, it doesn't seem like it's been a challenge to this point.
Mm.
Because of this, becoming the second best team in Wales is not a challenge anymore. Because I know it's going to happen. It's just a case of it's probably going to take 2 or 3 years, regardless of whether my tactics are strong or how well I do as a manager. I know it's going to happen because it's a bit broke. After that, I think that's when the real challenge will start, is trying to overtake TNS, because that's when I think these issues will no longer be an issue, because anyone I can get for free from these teams isn't going to be good enough to challenge against TNS. And so I think that's kind of where the challenge is going to get start. But up to this point, it's a bit broken. It's too easy. And anyone looking to do this save, you're probably going to find this issue.
Sure. Which is it raises questions because, as you say, it's your position now. It's your main objective. Instead of trying to build the club up to get to a certain level where you could potentially look to start challenging a team like TNS in however many seasons time, you're going to be there sooner rather than later. Which again, I think it adds a very like different dynamic to the save and the direction you're going to take it in. I mean, also the fact that you've got players that are going to be, average squad ages of around 17, 18, because the younger players are such a good standard. I just really enjoy the concept of, like somebody who's playing in the Welsh football pyramid, who's considered like a grizzled midfield veteran because he's 23, you know. It's like, so,
That
oh,
legitimately, I think that's what's going to happen. Like,
mm,
I like my best captain. Like, I've got like a player that he's 18. He's got 18 leadership and 18 teamwork. He's gonna be the most professional player in the entirety of the top division of Welsh football. And by the time that happens, by the time he makes club captain, he's gonna be 20. I think
mm.
it's incredible.
So you've got Welsh Jude Bellingham. That's essentially what you've got. Like,
Essentially, yes.
yeah, exactly. Fundamentally speaking, yeah. In terms of, I mean, it's because I've never really done a Welsh league save before. Is it the kind of thing where you find where you're managing in other comparatively smaller leagues compared to bigger ones in Europe, where are you the main threat to, for example, if you find a club that have got a really good like midfielder, are you the main threat to that midfielder leaving that club, or do you have other kind of clubs from from countries like England or Scotland? Are they also involved, or is it just it's just Wales on Wales, like Wales on Wales crime basically? Is that?
I think the issue is that any club that has a scouting reach for Wales, so any club outside of Wales that has their scouting reach for Wales,
Mhm.
whatever players in Wales aren't good enough for them. Does that make sense? So any club outside of Wales that would want Welsh players do not have the funds to have a scouting reach that will a scouting network that will reach Wales. So literally within Wales, the only players, the occasional bid comes out from like an English team that's quite close to the border, like for example, like Bristol. A lot of bids come in from like some of the lower teams in that Bristol area because that's quite close to South Wales, for example. But outside of that, there's no threat. So I am essentially, I have first choice as long as that player is willing to join me. I have first choice of any player in the league, with the exception of TNS, and it's a bit busted. Honestly, it's a bit busted, and it's something that SI maybe need to address in the future.
Have you got players that are not going national level yet, or is it still just
That's
done? They all go to England.
we're not quite like we're nowhere near the
Yeah.
level of national, like Welsh national, but we have got plenty of Welsh under 18s, under 19s that are there. And honestly, we shouldn't have anyone that's playing for me. Even we're like a mid-level Comrie Premier team. None of these players should be going to the Welsh under 18s and the Welsh under 19s, especially when these players are 16. They're skipping the under 17s and everything. They're already that good. And so, yeah.
I mean, Jabby, you tempted to maybe, I know you're doing bits in Italy at the moment, maybe sending a couple of scouts over to Wales just on the off chance?
Well, we'll have to wait a couple of seasons before we get there because obviously they'll start developing and then we can go from there. All those 17, 18-year-olds could work out really well. Who knows? Actually, no, I can't because I'm not allowed any foreign national, non-EU players. So, and obviously, Brexit, nice one.
This is the Brexit we all voted for. Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted. Exactly what we wanted. Yeah. How is life in Italy, man? How's things going?
FM23 is really easy. That's basically it. I had a few people in my chat. I think it was on Thursday when we were streaming during the daytime, and I won every single game. And then I think I lost the final game of my stream, but it was rather easy. But I think that's just because Pescara had just been relegated, so they've got quite a strong squad. We picked up a young 17, 18-year-old from Roma on loan because they're our feeder club, and he's been amazing for us. He's going to be, I might actually look for him if I go into a bigger league, see where we go, because he's doing bits there. Also, Registas seem to be OP for me. I don't know why, but I think I'll probably take it on the network save as well. But I've got a Regista called Palmero who's just been fantastic. He's got about 9 assists, just pings the ball just beautifully in front of the strikers. And we're top of the Serie A by about 7 points. We're through in the Serie A Cup. And yeah, it was just lots and lots of wins. And I think we went 8 games unbeaten and we didn't concede a goal in that entire time. And then we came up against Juve Stabia, which FMT former listers and former hosts, Tony managed once because a wasp stung him and they've got a wasp on the badge because that's how Tony Jameson's brain works. I was there for that stream when he went over. So we played them, but they beat us 3-2. So that was our first loss of the season. But like I said, we're sitting pretty at the top of the league. I'm quite excited by some of the players, but I've got the save loaded up on my other screen, and I've just looked at all the contracts and gone, oh, sugar. Because a lot of them expire at the end of this season. I didn't realise. So I think that's what I'll be doing next stream anyway. But I think getting that, I think getting the formation, and I think this game is all about making little tweaks again and again and again, like in between every game, just seeing where you can make that tweak to the formation. Can you change what position people are playing? Can you change just the instructions on that side of things? And it's having that formation, but then also having a backup of that formation where it's more defensive or more attacking. Changing formation completely just doesn't seem to work, I've noticed. And I think it's been noticed by a few people on that type of thing. But yeah, enjoying time in Italy. I think we are now doing Duolingo lessons at the start of every stream.
Nice.
I'm really good in a cafe, but not very good with adjectives. I failed that one, so yeah, I can order you a coffee. Did you know that the Italian for cappuccino is cappuccino?
I'm shocked.
I know,
Absolutely
exactly.
stunned, Jeb.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm just learning that, but now I'm
yeah.
learning it. I feel stupid for not thinking of it previously. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know why they teach it. It's like pick out the word that says cappuccino. I think it's cappuccino. Oh, look, it is. Look, there you go. So there you go. I've also made an emote for my Twitch stream, which might be construed as something else, but obviously it's the classic Italian the purse. But yes, I think the way the fist is a bit too prominent, unfortunately, in the picture, but we'll see where we go from there. But let's not go into that. It's a child-friendly podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's nice to see that I've made a big sign as well. A Belgian winger that I brought in, he's doing really well as well. So it's nice to actually have a big sign that's actually paid off, because I've not had one of them for a while, both in FM22 and 23.
I mean, I'm delighted for you. I've seen I've seen the Italian hands emote. I think, is that the best way of maybe putting it?
Choi Voy, I think that's what it might
Yeah.
be called. Chevoy, yeah, Chevoy, yeah.
Yeah, a very long time ago, my wife and I, we used to have a couple of Italian lodgers that used to work with us, and they rented our spare room off us for about a year. That's when my son, shout out Seth Danger, still asleep, love you. It's when he was about 18 months old, and he loved them. He loved them very, very dearly. But yeah, he used to watch them cooking together in the kitchen at night and getting very, very animated and very, very Italian with each other. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And then he would he'd follow them into the kitchen, and then he'd just look up at them and he'd just start going. It's like, what are you doing, son? It's like speaks Italian, apparently. Who knew? So yeah, those are the days. I love the hand, and again, I'm delighted for both of you, because just the levels of success you're having streaming. This is the main reason I think I'm really, really sad that I haven't got Kev here with me this evening, because it seems like half the pod are having a really, really nice time in their saves. The other half of the pod are having a slightly more tempestuous time with their saves. Now Kev's not here to tell his stories, but my goodness me, they're good. We had a brief recap, I think, before we started recording the network save the other night. More on that later. I'm having a worrisome time in Mexico. It's not going as well as I thought it was going to. I'm into the second half of season one, I think, is the best way of putting it, because Mexico has like an opening stage and a closing stage. As we've recapped before, if you win the opening stage, you are a league champion. If you win the closing stage, you are a league champion. If you win the opening and closing stage, you've technically won 2 league championships. So I'm thinking, hey, in the spirit of the save, we're going to rattle through this. This is going to be great. I'm going to be racking up titles left, right, and center. And my players went, nah, you're absolutely not going to be doing that. We're going to make life very, very difficult for you. Yeah, Mexico's tough. Mexico's tough, man. I'm not having the best time. I scraped into because I mean, very much like Wales, that the league splits after 17 games. You play each team once, and then the league splits. The bottom 4 teams, you just finish bottom. Unlucky for you. And then the top 12 teams go into a knockout competition, like a knockout tournament, to crown the eventual winner. And the higher up the league you finish, the more rounds you skip. Like I think the winning team go in the quarterfinals, so they miss the first 2 rounds of knockout football. I scraped in on the last day of the season, scraped in 11th, and got spectacularly battered by Atlas in the first game of the knockouts. Who, in fairness to Atlas, they did go on to win the title. So I was beaten by the eventual winners. So you can't be too mad at that. So I got absolutely turned over by them, and then God bless my chat, they had to sit through just an entire World Cup when nothing was happening. So just sat there, just trying to simulate 70 days is just really really boring. Hyped myself up because you got two key Atletico San Luis players who are out with either long-term injuries. Unai Bilbao, who's a big, he's a big, strong, quick Spanish centre back. Been at the club for a few years. I've managed him before. He's absolutely wonderful. Defensively, I'm woeful. So I'm like, he's coming back from injury. He's going to slot straight back into that defence, and he's going to firm everything up. And he's going to be the building block that we build the team off. The World Cup's going on. He's got 2 weeks left on his injury. He's got 1 week left on his injury. I'm getting really excited. The day he returns to full training after his injury, immediately, boss, I think I want to leave. I think I want a new challenge. I was like, I hate you so much. I hate you so much, Unai Bilbao. You are the worst person to have ever existed. If I could injure you again, I would. So help me God, I would. So he left immediately to a rival. I think Santos Laguna, who are, I think, second or maybe third in the all-time most successful Mexican teams. They've picked him up, so I've lost him to a rival, which is very, very upsetting. Abel Hernandez, he finally left the club after snapping his leg and me just, rescinding that contract offer that I might have made him 2 days previously. Felt so
Lovely.
bad.
Wow, that is cruel.
That's
Oh,
cold, that, yeah.
I'm such an
That is
awful
very
human
cool.
being. I'm such an awful human being. I was like, hey, have $6,000 a week more than you're on. You're going to be great forever. And then his leg just snaps completely in half.
You
And I'm
know,
just,
you know
yeah.
that he bought a new house. He's just bought a new
Oh, yeah.
house as well, right?
100%.
Yeah.
He's just put a down
Yeah.
payment on something. And then I'm like, oh, this is really awkward. So I just tear up the contract in front of him. Just be like, what contract? What are you talking about? There was never a new contract. You've bought a new cut. That was really, really silly. About what have you done that for? You silly, silly boy. You're leaving in 6 months. What's going on? So yeah, he's gone. Uh, a lot of my elder non-Mexican players have also left the club, including my 39-year-old central attacking midfielder who got his arse in his hand, wouldn't offer him a new deal. I was like, you why do you want to keep playing? You're 39. I could only imagine how tired I'm going to be in 12 years when I'm 39. That sounds exhausting. It's actually 2, but we won't talk about that. Kev, edit that out, please. I'm not 37. I refuse to be 37. So he's
Neither am
gone.
I.
No, neither are you. Neither are you. We're all youngsters. Even in Welsh football terms, it's, so yeah, everyone's gone. Everything's horrible. I did. There's a slight ray of hope. I've managed to pick up former Shakhtar Donetsk legend Alex Teixeira. He was available on a free contract, and I was like, if he's keen, I'll spend whatever I need to spend to get him in. And then it's like he looked at my wage structure and went, I will take every available penny you have. And because I'm really silly, I went, yeah, go on then. And he scored 2 goals in 6 games for me. So I'm really, really not happy with that return. So yeah, Mexico is tough. Mexico is definitely tough. I also really foolishly spent the entirety of my transfer budget, because there was a small one there after the sale of some players. Spent the entirety of my budget on a player that was recommended on Twitter by RDF Tactics. Shout out RDF. Appreciate you. There was a Mexican defender, and I was like, he might be interested in coming joining me. He'd be joining from Club America. I'm like, hey, weakening a rival. That always helps. And then I clicked on him, and there were 4 interested clubs, and there was me, Chelsea, Bayern, and Inter Milan. I was like, this is just never going to happen. But again, because they were waiting for his contract to expire, I was like, I'll do the thing I hate doing the most, paying for a player that I know full well I could have for free potentially in 6 months' time. But just try and keep the European big boys away. I've shelled out and then realised as I was going through contract negotiations, he is a centre back who is 5'10". So I've been had. I'm pretty sure he wore platforms to his medical. I remember him being bigger in real life for some reason. So yeah, muddling through muddling through, getting really angry, losing lots of games. The opposite to Jeb, went on a massive losing streak and then finished by winning my final game. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to play a 4-2-3-1 because I'm a horrible, boring person. And let's just see what happens. And I beat reigning champions Atlas 2-0 away from home. I'm like, oh, I hate everything about this. But also, I've won a game. So morally, who wins? Me. I win because I won the game. So I feel really good about myself. So yeah, Mexico's tough and I am sad, but I'm not going to give up, even though I really, really want to.
Like you said, don't give up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep pushing on.
Exactly. Keep pushing
I'll
on.
tell you how many games I've won, and then we'll go from there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll get promoted soon, and then I won't win. I won't be winning as many games.
I appreciate
Maybe
that.
about
Thank
half. But FM23 is easy. That's what I'm going for.
you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's yeah, super easy. The easiest game in the world. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm hoping that it gets easier if you play long-term saves with real people. We should probably do that. Oh no, wait. We are doing that. Because as well as our own individual saves, that was a segue. Did you see that? That was quite good.
It's pretty
Yeah.
smooth. That
Thank
was
you very
pretty
much.
sick. That was pretty sick.
Thank you very much.
You're
I'm
getting
proud of
better
that.
at them.
Oh, thank you, man. That's really, really. I appreciate that. Genuinely, it's very, very sweet of you. Yeah, the FMT network save launched on Thursday night, and what a time was had by all. For me, the personal highlight was just being regularly complimented. Just but took me by surprise every single time. Alice just turned into the nicest person in the world for about 60 seconds every 15 minutes. I mean, do you want to, can we get a bit of context as to why that was? Is it just because you're a really, really kind-hearted person?
No, it's actually because it's quite the opposite. I'm generally not a nice person. I on the surface I do seem like a nice person, but I never give anyone compliments. I'm always mean to my chat. I'm always mean to my peers and my colleagues and everything like that. And, at the end of the day, it's always a bit of banter, but I never really say nice things. So one of the for the network save, one of the channel point redemptions I have for my channel, for my chat, is that I would be nice to my fellow FMT podcast crew members during the network save. And I need to up the cooldown. I had a 15-minute cooldown on that thing, and every 15 minutes it was pressed. It's going up to 20 minutes next month. Next save. And if the same thing happens, it's going up by another 5 minutes. It's going to go up to 25 minutes, and so on and so on, until I'm not having to compliment you every like 6 times a stream. I think it was more than that, to be fair.
Yeah, I got to a point on my stream deck. I set up a 15-minute timer, so I just pressed it once you'd finished your compliments and waited for the next round to come round. And I think you were abusing me because myself and Kev had a friendly, and I threw away a 3-1 lead, and he drew 3-all, and you were abusing me, and I was like, right, going in your channel, redeeming. What are you saying, Alice? It was fantastic. It worked really well for me. It gave me that morale boost that I needed after throwing away a lead.
It is surprisingly difficult to be nice. I'm occasionally, I'll praise somebody if I think they've done something worth praising. I'll be nice to them. But let's be honest, none of us did anything on the other night that was worthy of praise. So trying to come up with anything, I was just like, you're a lovely individual. You're a wonderful human being, and everything you do, and just coming up with random stuff to praise you nerds over.
It was brilliant because the thing for me, I was sat there, and we'll dive into the meat and bones of the save in a second, but I was sat there stressing over contract negotiations. The key for me for success with this save was sorting out 2 of my first team players, getting them to sign new contracts very, very quickly before someone like Kev with his £70 million budget swooped in for them both. So I'm sat there sweating and stressing about these contract negotiations. I'm not fully in the room. And every 15 minutes, suddenly Alice just starts saying really nice things to me. And just for a couple of seconds, I'm just going, mate, thank you. That's really, really nice. And then I remembered, I was like, these words mean nothing, absolutely nothing. But honestly, mate, I'd say for about the first, 90 minutes of that stream, every time you started complimenting me, I was like, oh, thank you. That's really, you know what, Alice, I needed that today. Thank you so much. And then just it all came flooding back. I was like, oh, she hates me, really. She hates me so much. I mean, for those of you that missed it, those of you that might not be completely up to date on Pod, there's the FMT network save. I am managing Leicester City. Alice has taken control of Crystal Palace. Jeb, they say there are two wolves in every person. For Jeb, as it turns out, it's the beta and the network save. And Kev somehow spun Brighton on the wheel with his enormous transfer budget. I mean, we streamed for about 3.5 hours. We're there or thereabouts for pre-season now.
Yeah, the first hour took 2 hours, ironically.
Yeah.
Just to get through that first hour of the first day of pre-season.
And that was mostly Kev trying to spend his 70 million.
It was also me trying to sign any number of staff because Wolves basically had a big clear out and had nobody left, and then I had a big clear out and went, "You're all useless. We're going to get whole new staff in." But yeah, I think the bizarrest thing was that I never knew I was such a fan of the 90s American kids TV show called Hanging with Mr. Cooper, but apparently I am because I spent 17 million on Liam Cooper. I'm still scratching my head over it. Who's got a torn hamstring at the same time? Or no, it's Cruciates, isn't it? He's got his Cruciates done in as well, so he can't even start the season for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was. There were a number of very, very interesting transfer offers that were made over the course of the evening. At one point, I was just offered nothing for Johnny Evans. So maybe I could do with getting rid of. Maybe I could do with getting him off the wage bill, and then suddenly it's like I will offer you £0. And the interesting thing was, I talked him into a move to Wolverhampton. Because originally he was like, I've got no interest in joining. I was like, come on now, Johnny. Are you sure you've got no interest in joining Wolverhampton Wanderers? And he's like, I mean, since the influx of Portuguese players at the club, the number of Nando's in Wolverhampton city centre has doubled. And that's a fact. Used to be 2, now it's 4. Wolverhampton facts. Wolverhampton facts. That's what you get on this podcast. So, maybe he was keen. He loves the man loves a piri wrap, and he loves it at multiple locations. But then no sensible offers materialized, which was a shame, which is a real shame because I cannot wait to get rid of him. So that was fun. That was an absolute joy. There were actually, surprisingly, it surprised me. There were some actual real life deals struck between 2 of the managers. If there's one thing that Leicester City are blessed with, it's mediocre goalkeepers. I have, at the start of the save, there are 3 of them. And I was like, you know what I really, really need? A 4th. Do you know who I love? Jack Butland. Do you know who Jack Butland plays in real life? Crystal Palace. Alice, you've done yourself. You've made a huge mistake by letting Jack Butland go. Surely you know this.
Like, I kind of wanted to keep Jack Butland, but we have like 3 goalkeepers already. One is on 60k a week, one is on 70k a week, and then Jack Butland's on 40k a week. One of them had to go, and unfortunately, as the worst one of the 3, it was Jack Butland. And you gave me what, like 900k for him? And don't get me wrong, I also saw the extra 500,000 for what was it, like 50 appearances or something like that, or
no, it's winning the FA Cup.
Oh, there we go. That's just never going to happen. Yep. So, I don't get me wrong. I know I'm not getting that 500,000 anytime in the future, but I'll take my 900k. Thanks.
Yeah, and you're welcome to it. Spend it wisely. Spend it wisely.
I already have.
There you go. See, everything's fine. Everything is fine. I got an offer from Kev at one point as well. With his ridiculous transfer budget, he came in for Kalichi Iheanacho off me. And I was in my head, I was like, well, the offer is far too low. But on the other hand, I just really like Kev. So there was a moment where I was like, maybe I just say yes out of principle. And then I just tried to negotiate it a little bit. And Kev just went, no, So that was the end of that. Negotiating with Kev is difficult. The man drives a hard bargain.
While you're both here,
Hmm.
can I interest you in Hwang Hee-Chance?
No. As it turns
No.
out, no. I was so
No.
I was so confused because I've not done anything network based before. Like I've not done a network save since Football Manager 2006,
Oh,
when
damn.
I was
Wow.
living in Manchester with my girlfriend at the time, and I played a network save with one of her housemates who used to sit there getting drunker and drunker and drunker every single night. Just basically this lad, lovely lad, went to university in Manchester because he was utterly convinced that him and Cristiano Ronaldo, if they ever met, would just instantly become best friends because he thought they had a lot in common. And he just used to sit there getting absolutely hammered 4 or 5 nights a week, just explaining to me in detail why he thought they were going to be best mates. And he's like, look, all I need to do is bump into him in a nightclub, and if we just get to chatting, we're just going to get to chatting. We're going to find we've got so much in common. I was like, yeah, because he's a millionaire footballer, and you don't go to university 4 out of 5 days a week, so you'll be absolute bezos. So,
Is he good friends with Piers Morgan? Is that what it was? I think that might have been the kicker.
he's on next week, actually. He's on next week. It's like,
yeah.
yeah. It's like, hey, Cristiano, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. It's
Right.
a whole thing. It's a whole
Nice.
thing. So yeah, I wasn't expecting just transfer notifications saying, do you want to submit an offer of £5 million for Hwang Hee-Chan? So, no.
I never went low as 5 million. How dare you?
he's worth so much. If you had to put an exact price on it, Jeb, what would that exact price be?
I've not gone below 10 on all the offers out that I've done, but I think I've offered him out many, many times, and everyone's come. Well, no one's come back. It's just crickets every single time.
Yeah, it's hard. There are some players that it's hard. Yeah, Yannick Vestergaard being another one. Nobody was interested in Yannick Vestergaard, apart from Bournemouth, who were keen and then just weren't moving on. And then I found out 5 minutes later that they have a transfer embargo on, so they're just teasing me at this point. But I think, yeah, Vestergaard ended up leaving some. He's gone to a Serie A club of some description, and I am paying 17.5 grand a week of his wages. But you know what? It's fine. He's gone, and I'm happy because I've got to reinvest. I've bought my all-time favorite French defender from last season, Benoit Badiashile. He is going to be partnering somebody. Don't know yet, but it's his job to make Jack Butland look good this season, and I'm excited.
So Kev isn't the only one in the save that's going to be rich. I'm about to net 40 million from Paris Saint-Germain.
Really, honestly, you really think that Jeffrey Schlupp is worth £40 million? Fair play. Fair play.
To be fair, I've also got rid of him. I think I had to spend a bit basically gave him away for next to nothing essentially, and paying some of his wages as well. But compared to what he's on at the moment, it was better than nothing. But yeah, unfortunately, the reality is Wilfried Zaha has a year left on his contract and doesn't want to sign a new one. He wants to leave. He wants to go. He wants to go somewhere else for a new adventure, or whatever he wants. And then he started getting on a grumpy with me. I sold a random midfielder that is never going to get a game for me, and I already bought a replacement for this midfielder. And then Wilfried Zaha got on a grumpy with me, and so I was just like, you know what? Paris Saint-Germain are interested in you. Just go now. There's no point in you staying the rest of the season. And so I offered him off to Paris Saint-Germain, and they will be taking him off my hands for 40 million. I think it was 40 or 30. I can't remember exactly, but we are going to be able to reinvest back into the club with the wages we've just gotten rid of, including Zaha. We should be able to get a couple of good players as well. So it's not just Kev you need to worry about. Also, I won the bidding war.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that was that was a thing. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it? So, for those who didn't see the stream, Alice, who was the bidding war for?
I don't know his name.
We all went for this Norwegian winger that everyone's on about. I think it's Sludder something. And
Andreas
actually,
something.
wait up.
His first name was
Andreas.
Andreas.
It's here in front of me. Here we are. Morton Gamps Pedersen. Oh no, we'll come back to that one in a minute. Shelderup, that's it. Andreas Shelderup. But you were going on about the midfielder that you sold. I'm sure he was your club captain. It's Luka Majolovic.
Yeah, it was.
So I can understand why Zaha might be a little bit miffed at you getting rid of the club captain.
He
But
was
there we
never
are.
going
It's
to
just
get
a
a game
random
from.
midfielder.
He was never going to get a game for me. He's not good enough. But he's not good enough for the club. He doesn't match my vision of where I want Crystal Palace to be in 5 years' time.
Can't argue with that. Yeah, can't argue with that. But yeah, so Alice won the bidding war. Now, my role in the bidding war was to just put in slightly higher offers than other people, like for example, Kev and Alice were making, just to see if I could drive the price up because I'm a sneaky man.
See, the thing is, right? I think the AI has picked up that Kev is rich. Like, I think the AI is genuinely taking Kev for a ride at the moment because, like, Kev, I put a bid for Endrick of what, like, it was sub 10 million or whatever, and I had that accepted. He didn't want to move to me. It seems to be like coded into the game that he won't actually sign for you until he's like 18 or something like that. I don't know, but like that kind of seems how it's going. But they accepted a sub 10 million bid for him from me. Yet they were taking Kev for like 25 mil for this exactly the same player, and they are rinsing Kev of all his money. They know what they're doing.
Oh, the AI know. The AI 100% know they know your your financial situations inside and out. I think Shelderup. I originally I think I saw offers going in for around £8 million, so I put one in for about 9.5. And then I think a couple more offers got made, and then they said to me, "You can have him for £14.5 million." I had no interest in signing him. I mean, I'd love to have signed him, but I just didn't have the money. Leicester don't start out with a huge transfer budget. I think you have about £10 million. You've got about 80k in wages to play with, but then I had to renegotiate for Soyuncu and for Yuri Tielemans as well. So 70 of that 80 got split between the two of them. So you've got £10 million and 10k a week. So I was feasibly never going to be able to sign him, but I was like, you know what? If it means that somebody like Kev has to spend a little bit more of his transfer budget, I'm happy to do it. And then I see the news goes through. He signed for what looked like Alice's original £8 million bid. So I just wasted my time completely.
Clearly, his club never watched Zealand's video about transfers, did they? Like, they maybe should have done that before going into a bidding, before accepting that one of their players was going to have a bidding war on the four of us.
Yeah, he gets good. He gets very, 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 very good.
Honestly, it is the first time I heard of him and I saw his attributes on the game. We obviously have attribute masking on. And then I was kind of looking at him like, even if most of his attributes are the worst of what I'm seeing right now, he will still be useful. He will still be in my squad. He will still be in the matchday squad. And as it stands, he was at the upper end of what I was seeing. And he will be starting every game from now on. Especially now we're losing Wilfred Zaha as well. We don't have Zaha at the club anymore. And so we're going to have to rely on him, as well as a few other acquisitions I've made.
I was going to go into two of those. A couple of senior gentlemen coming in. Hal Robson-Kanu, we were just told him he's on a free. It's like, right, I'm going in. It's like, there you go. The only Welsh hero up there. Well, you went for many Welsh heroes, but that was the one that you went for and got. And then obviously coming back to bring shudders down Kev's spine by signing Morton Gamps Pedersen as well.
Look. Hear me out. Is the Morton Gamps Pedersen in this game is the same reason why he almost won me an FM playoff. I should maybe have won that FM playoffs, and with Morton Gamps Pedersen was the linchpin in that team, and I think in the right system he could be the same here. Like when you look at his attributes, his mental and technical attributes are still incredible. They rival most Premier League players. Like, it's just his pace and acceleration that he doesn't quite have anymore, and that's all it is. So all you need to do is have him in a role and in a position where he is not required to move with any particular haste. And if you can do that, then he is going to be incredible for you. Well, for me, in this case, for me.
Basically, Alice, you've signed modern day Jan Molby. That's what you've done. Just,
Yeah.
Can I recommend the role of box to box midfielder for him? I think he's going to be fantastic in that role, and will need subbing off after 12 minutes every single game.
Yeah, basically.
Or a Mazzala, but he doesn't run wide. So it's like, I'm not doing that bit of the job. I'm just going to stay in the middle. That's it. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if he's confused football for essentially British Bulldog, he's been tagged and he can't move till someone tags him again. If you can get that into the game, he's going to be absolutely fine. You see, we've had a look at our calendars as well. So we've seen our fixtures lists, and we're all playing each other inside. I think before the World Cup, we will all have played each other once. Alice, I think I've got you on the last day of the season as well. I'm pretty sure Palace Leicester is one of the closing fixtures this season.
Easy win for Palace is fine.
Sure.
I'm not concerned.
Light work, yeah. If Morgan Camps Pedersen assists Hal Robson Carnu in that game,
I'm making it happen.
Yeah, there you go.
You need to just retire from Football Manager content creation at that point.
All right, everyone that's ever seen me stream, yeah. I genuinely wouldn't know how to cope. I genuinely wouldn't. Like, I could take one or the other, but not both happening at the same time. That would, I got excited in the beta when I had a game where Ross Barkley assisted Aaron Ramsey, and I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. Like, football has peaked. But being on the receiving end of one of those, I don't know if I've got it in me. I just don't know if I have. I absolutely don't know. I'd struggle emotionally and physically. I know Jeb was touting players early. By the way, if anybody, if you guys could just stop listening for a second, I'm just talking to the audience now. If any of you guys can recommend me a really, really good right-sided attacking midfielder for about £12 million that isn't Hwang Hee-Chan, like, hit me up. Respond to this in the comments, tweet us, whatever it may be, because I need help, please.
You get a bit more. Give you Daniel Podence. Right. Anyway.
Morgan Camps Pedersen could play there.
I'm sure
you missed out. It will only cost you 10k as well. 10k. So
I mean, if you want, I was going to say, if you want to rival Morgan Camps Pedersen, Ricardo Quaresma's there. He's sat there waiting. 38 years old, pretty much similar. So,
King of the Travella.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm all in that. More of a flair player than Morgan Camps Pedersen, some might say, because
exactly.
I think his hips still work, so he's got that going for him. Now, before this is the thing. If you are interested in watching us, watching the network save, I can wholeheartedly recommend it. We stream it every Thursday evening. You can watch Alice and other Morton Gantz Pedersen-less streamers are available. Kev is also really, really good at streaming, so you can watch him too. So yeah, every Thursday we have a good time. We have a very, very good time. So get involved. By the time this podcast goes out, the Thursday following or the Thursday after this pod goes out, I have a feeling we'll actually be playing proper competitive games of football on stream. You won't have to sit through me getting really, really excited about Jamie Vardy's testimonial against Sheffield Wednesday. We're just some of the great. Like, I got so excited. Like, I was looking at my squad and I was like, suddenly I've got I haven't got any trialists in. Why have I got Christian Fuchs in on trial? Why have I got David Nugent in on trial? Can I sign David Nugent? Is that a thing that I could do? Could I get Super Dave back? Decided against it. So yeah, Thursdays there'll be competitive games, and you can hear Alice saying really, really kind, unprompted things to us. It's an absolute joy.
Or really horrible things to Kev's chat. So it's
really horrible things to Kev's chat. the last thing I'll say about it, I would be really intrigued because as the night went on, we were all in a group call together as the stream is going on. You know, we dip out every now and then just to talk to chat. Towards the end of the stream, Alice was going quieter and quieter and quieter in between the periods of niceness because I don't think she could stay in the call. I was like, I think she was saying kind words to us and just hanging up. I was like, I hate them. I hate them all so much. They're such terrible human beings. Why did I accept the job on this podcast? What am I doing in my life? They're all awful. I hate them all so much for 15 minutes. And then, oh my God, Rich, I really like your glasses. So that was,
The
yeah.
good news is I don't keep my VODs, so there's no video evidence of this.
That we'll send spies in.
So good news for you, yes. Good news for you, I guess, in that way. Yeah, and I think between us all, I think I mentioned it in our little private chats, but just coming up with extra things just to spice up that thing. I think Alice's addition of those compliments. I think if we can do something else, even if it's just we bring in, let's discuss a topic for an hour or just something stupid like that. What's the worst? Yeah, that type of thing.
Absolutely.
Impromptu podcast. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Impromptu extra content that we can discuss because I think it was nice bouncing between all the chats and seeing how busy they were and people listening in and suggesting that type of way is really nice. I had a lot of fun, to be fair. So
lovely, and there'll be more lovely fun to be had. I promise, loads of it, and absolutely. Some might say too much. Not us though. Not us. We love it. Every Thursday, come get involved. Now, before we end the pod this evening, we had a bit of an idea for a little section, and normally there'd be four of us here, but this week there are only three. So this is going to be some audience participation in this because what we've decided to do, and as what Jeb said, has segued quite nicely in really, you know, little topics, conversation stuff we can have a little bit of a chat about. We've decided to open that up amongst ourselves. So every now and then we're going to be having two members of the FM team. Are going to basically have a little debate, a little FM based debate around certain aspects of the game, you know, be it tactics, be it players, whatever it may be, we're going to have two opposing arguments. We'll have a little rebuttal. And then what we would do if there were four of us here is, you know, with Kev, especially if Kev isn't taking part, you know, Kev is a very, very sensible and wise man. So he may choose whose argument he favours. Or he'll sit on the famous Kev fence, one of the two. There's no middle ground there, no middle ground. But because Kev isn't here this evening, what we'll do, we're going to hear from Jeb and Alice shortly about some things they have very strong feelings on. And then after the pod, we'll open it up to you, the audience, and we'd like your feedback on who you thought put the best arguments across and who you thought won the debate. This week's debate, it's tactical based. It's a tactical based debate. If you've ever seen Alice streaming before, if you've seen her streaming, if you've seen her in the playoffs, if you've seen her in any kind of PvP, Alice, generally speaking, has a system. She had a tried and tested system she used a lot last year in FM22, which involved five at the back. She had a back five. Jeb, on the other hand, is a man who I don't think is aware you can have five people in defense at any one time. So tonight's topic conversation, Alice is going to be singing the virtues of five defender formations, and Jeb is going to be countering that. Do we have any preference, by the way, before we go on this, on who goes first?
I volunteer that to Jeb.
I volunteer that to Alice. There you go. It's your first decision to make, Rich.
Right. You will learn. You will learn as time goes on, audience, that Alice has this beautiful way with words, is that she starts a sentence and then right at the end it just swerves. So and I just heard I volunteer, and I'm like, oh, it's really, really big of you. It's like, every time. You know what? Because of the way it's formatted on my screen, because Alice is at the top of my screen, Alice can go first.
Of course.
Right.
First win for me.
Right. Over to you, friendo. You've got 2 minutes to sing the praises of a 5-back formation. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Beautiful. Go for it, pal. The floor is yours.
So the five at the back is a formation that isn't particularly used all that much, especially on FM, although the AI itself seems to be using it quite frequently at the moment. One of the reasons that is it's not particularly versatile. When you have five at the back, it limits creativity in the actual overall formation. However, I feel as though that limitation is actually does the exact opposite. And it breeds more creativity into your tactic. And that you have to then start to think about other ways to make this work. You can't just have a nice 4-3-2, what is it, 4-2-3-1. We were talking about that earlier. It's boring, it's easy, it's too simple. You don't even have to think about it. Like, that's not management. That's just boredom, that is. But with five at the back, it's hard mode. It is hard mode. But when it works, when you get there, when you make five at the back work, it is going to blow the mind of the leagues that you're in. They're not going to know how to cope with you. And when we talk about five at the back, we don't always mean literally five at the back. You could just have, there's so many varieties of that five at the back you can have. Yes, they're technically in the same positions when we look at a formation graph, but when you consider roles involved, then that's where everything changes. The defenders on the right and the left, they're either defenders or they're wingers. You can have them as whichever one you want. You can have them as inverted wingers. They could be pushing in all the time, or they could be staying wide. You can have wide centre backs. Your centre back can be ball playing defenders, no nonsense, wide centre backs, whatever you want. And a libero, you can have a libero in there as well. Why would you not want to have a libero? I don't understand. It is an absolute amazing tactic that you can have so much fun with. Outside of that five at the back, there's so much what you can do with the rest of the pitch. You can have those DMs in, midfielders, strikers, whatever you want to do. Whatever you can think of, you can do with five at the back.
Passionate is that I've never heard somebody talk with such passion about five defender. I wasn't expecting it, but I loved it. Right, Jeb, your rebuttal, sir.
Right, well, four at the back's the way to go because, like I said, it's the way it should be played. It makes nicer football. You've got more midfield freedom. It does allow for more creativity. And you don't have to play negative football. Believe it or not, I did have a five at the back formation last season, and it's a bit of a cheat code. You have five at the back. It is that type of way. You play against the big clubs, you play and you soak up all that pressure, and that's all you do. It's really boring. DMs can do the jobs, but the DMs can then change into registers. They can turn into deep line playmakers. That's how you want to play. If you want to play defense, you put some DMs in there. The one thing that you said, and I had a big old smile on my face, liberos are an absolute myth in this game. They do not do what they want you to do. You cannot find a decent one. If somebody wants to point out who a decent one is, go ahead, do it in the comments of the video, or the comments of the podcast. But liberos are a complete myth on this game. And it's quite clear in FM23, you don't want more defenders. Defenders keep missing the ball, they keep missing headers, they keep running into each other. You don't want more defenders to do that. If you've got midfielders that can stop that play coming through to you, what's the point? I think the easiest way to push it as well is you have a sweeper keeper. That becomes your fifth defender, if you want to say it that way. They come out a little bit faster. But honestly, five at the back, it's negative, boring football. You've talked about five at the back with DMs. I mean, who are you? Gareth Southgate?
Wow. Well, not what I was expecting at all, but I loved it. So two quite compelling arguments there. What we'll do is we will now give each member of the debate the option to address their rival based on what we've just heard over the last 2 minutes from each. So, Alice, taking on board Jeb's rebuttal there, do you have any arguments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I 100% disagree with Jeb that it's a boring the five at the back is boring. Like, that's what that's what like four at the back is. That like, it's so basic. It's so pedestrian. It's so British almost. There's nothing fun about it. It's very meta. Like, it's like whenever formation, the strongest formation is in FM, I'll admit it usually has four at the back. And like that isn't excitement. That isn't exciting to me. That's just boring. It's just plain. It's just like, do something creative. Play five at the back and then have fun with more than just a formation, because that's what Football Manager is. Football Manager is not just the formation. It's the roles. It's the players you're putting in it. It's what you're telling them to do, not just where you're sticking them on the pitch. And when you have a four at the back, it's very easy that whatever you stick them on the pitch, they're probably going to do well, and you don't even have to think about the rules. That's just dull. I don't want to play Football Manager like that.
Some strong feelings, very, very strong feelings. I'm feeling feelings I wasn't expecting to feel. I'm not even taking part. Jeb, the floor is yours for the final time.
I'm going to make it nice, short and sweet. If you play 5 defenders, you don't get to play with any of the other roles or things further up the pitch because you're one less player down. It just doesn't really work. It's not exciting football. I mean, you're just soaking up pressure and lumping it forward to whoever's up there. It's not an exciting brand of football. Like I said, make the DMs do some of the work if you want to go defensive on it on that side of things, but you don't get to play with those attacking midfielders. You don't get to play with 2 strikers confidently with 5 at the back. Honestly, doesn't work for me at all.
There we have it. Huge.
Right, I'm leaving. I've had enough of this.
Gone. Can't work under these conditions. I miss Kev. Where's Kev when you really need him? Having a lovely time with his family on his birthday. That's where he is.
Kev is a great mediator.
Isn't he though? I've got 2 incredibly well articulated and passionate points of view there. Absolutely love that. I mean, I would say my argument would be to summarize that, Alice, the summary of your points there is that, using 5 defenders forces you to be more creative a bit further at the pitch. It's going to encourage you to use different roles, which you may not use otherwise. It's going to test those combinations. It's almost like forcing your hand into trying to be more attackingly creative because you have less players up the pitch to be able to use. Jeb just hates 5 at the back, as it turns out.
Liberos are a myth.
Liberos are apparently a myth. I've seen people say really, really nice things about liberos. I've never witnessed it firsthand, but that they could be, they're going to be my FM unicorn. They're my FM white whale. At some point I'll see it and I'll never be the same again. So this, audience, is where we would like you to come in. On Tuesday, we will put a poll up on Twitter on Tuesday afternoon. We will leave it running until the start of the network game on Thursday evening, and we would like you, the audience, to decide who has won the 4 versus 5 at the back debate.
If I win, does Alice have to sign Hwang as a replacement for Wilfried Zaha?
I think if you win, we may have to revisit the cooldown time on Alice's compliment timer for 1 week only. So yeah, we'll do that. Thursday evening, just before the network game goes live, we will have our winner. So please feel free to do a democracy. Cast your vote. Let us know what you think. I mean, in the sense, in terms of balance, I think there should be somebody here to potentially just very, very briefly address the benefits of a 3 defender system. If you're going to play 3 at the back, I'll do that. Don't. It's really, really bad. There you go. Smashed it. It's not even going to be an option. Stupid tactic for stupid people like me. Don't ever do it, kids. 3 at the back, not cool. So there we have it. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that's a podcast.
100%.
Wonderful. Right then, we will do the wrappings up. We will do the closings. Jeb, if people would like to watch you making wonderful Italian Football Manager content, where can they find you doing so?
Twitch.tv/Jebaroo with less O's.
So an amount of O's. You have to guess. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to set up alternative Twitch accounts with lots of O's and just see what happens. Alice, if people would like to watch you dominating Welsh football, where can they do so?
They can do so over at Twitch, twitch.tv/FMgirl. You can also find my comic over on Twitter, which is FM_girl433.
Beautiful. If you would like to watch me having a series of emotional breakdowns and just full-on existential crises trying to manage a Mexican football club, you can do so at twitch.tv/RichOwensFM. It's good. We have a good time. You have a good time. I have a time, and you enjoy me having a time because that makes you feel better about yourselves as people, and that's fine. That's how streaming works, and it's wonderful. Thank you both for joining me this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have had a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you for joining us as always. We will be back next week. Love you lots. Take care. Bye.